Hey everybody, it's the Nova Parks roving naturalist here again to continue the virtual program series. And I'm here at Bull Run Regional Park today. You can see Bull Run behind me right now. And I'm here today to talk to you a little bit about the Virginia Bluebell. And here at Bull Run Regional Park, we have one of the largest stands of Virginia Bluebells in the entire eastern United States. So it's no surprise that this flower is called the Virginia Bluebell, and I'm going to show you behind me some of the flowers. We'll definitely take a closer look right now, so come tag along. Thanks for joining us. So we're following the Bluebell Trail here along Bull Run, and there's a reason why these flowers grow in such dense patches here right next to the stream. It's actually part of the floodplain, and what that means basically is the section of land just beyond the banks of a stream or river that is prone to flooding in between the valley walls. And what that means basically is the section of land just beyond the banks of a stream or river that is prone to flooding in between the valley walls of any particular body of water. That's perfect for these flowers because they really like to grow in shady, moist conditions, and so obviously Bull Run right here, perfect for that. As you can see, there's bluebells totally all around me right now. And if you watch the Signs of Spring video from Potomac Overlook Regional Park, you probably have a little bit of a leg up in bluebell knowledge. And if you did not watch that video, you should watch it. But also, I'll throw in this. Bluebells are very fleeting. You really only see them for a very short time of year. They are a type of spring ephemeral flower. And what that means is basically they'll come in, they'll flower, they'll seed, and then the plant will retreat back into the ground where it will remain living but dormant throughout the rest of the year and come out again in late March. And their peak just definitely determines where you are geographically, how much sun they're getting. So here at Bull Run, because it's a very shaded area, they're right about at peak now. There's some other bluebells that I've seen that are past peak because they get more sun. And it is definitely a plant that really likes the shade and really likes nice wet soil. Bull Run is a perfect location. As you can see, it's pretty muddy right here. And if it had just rained, I would need some galoshes because it really gets super muddy on this trail. We've got a nice big patch of bluebells right here, so let's go ahead and take a closer look at the flowers themselves. So as you can see, all the flowers here are a nice light blue shade, while the bud is like a pinkish purple. You can see that. And the whole plant here, as with other members of the borage family, such as forget-me-nots, they all undergo like a color change as they grow, which is why some people consider them to be like chameleon plants. As you can see, their leaves are totally green right now, but when they first come up in spring, they are a very deep purple color, and they can be hard to spot because they're so dark. But then they change color to this light green, and then after the flower is done and the plant is ready to seed in June, these flowers will turn yellow and soon disappear. So by the end of June, you won't see any trace of this plant anymore. As I mentioned before, it is a spring ephemeral, which means it's basically just fleeting. It's there for a quick time and it's gone. So that's why I'm out here showing you now, because very shortly they will not be out anymore. So it kind of caught them right at peak. Even though it's a super windy day, I knew it was time to come out here. I wouldn't be able to really get to share these with you. As with hydrangeas, the acidity of the soil can determine the shade of color that the flowers have. So the more acidic the soil, the darker shade of blue you'll get, and also you can get some variation. So there are some flowers that are pink and some that are totally white. The pink is uncommon, but still fairly easy to find, especially if you've got a large stand of bluebell like this. You're pretty likely to find pink flowers that are totally bloomed, but the white ones are far more rare. So we'll be on the lookout for both. I doubt we'll find the white ones, but we'll probably find some pink ones that I can show you. That's just what I love about these plants, that there's so much variation and kind of the changes that they go through in such a very short amount of time. As for pollinators, butterflies are probably the most common because they have that long proboscis, that kind of like straw-like structure that they can reach deeper into flowers. As you can see, the flowers here are pretty long, so it can be tough for insects to access the nectar inside. But also definitely several varieties of native and non-native bees will also come to these flowers and seek their nectar and pollinate them. Insects that cannot actually reach inside the flowers will sometimes actually cut most of the flower off to access the nectar, which does not help the plant for pollination, but obviously gives them a nice free meal. And so just a brief recap on pollinators. You can check out more in the Carlisle House video on flowers that should be out there on YouTube right now. But pollination works by any kind of animal coming to a flower, and by accessing the nectar in the flower, they are already rubbing on and picking up pollen, and then they're transporting that pollen to another flower, and that will pollinate the plant and allow it to seed. Any flower that does not get pollinated in the time that it's blooming is considered sterile, and it will not get a chance to seed. When you come across these flowers, I highly recommend not to pick them, as tempting as it is, because they are really pretty, and it does seem like there's just so many of them that it's not going to hurt anything, and it may not, but because they flower so early in the season, there's not a ton of insects out there to pollinate, so they have a tough enough time of getting pollinated. So I highly recommend just to enjoy them by seeing them. As I mentioned before, sometimes you get different color flowers. So here we have some pink ones. And as you can see, this is not just the buds. These are fully bloomed flowers here. So it's really nice to see some variation. So here we've got the blue, and as you see, the budding one here is pinkish purple. But then you have fully bloomed flowers here that are totally pink. So anytime I can see some variation, it's really neat. Because this area right here gets a decent amount of sun, you can see these spring beauty flowers here are totally in bloom. They're opened up, and you can see why they're called spring beauty flowers. Look at that beautiful contrast of pink and white and yellow. Really, really pretty little flowers. They're no bigger than a little, like 1.5 centimeters. As I was walking along the trail, I found something cool on the ground. These are pawpaw flowers. They look like roses almost, but these are pawpaw, and it's part of a short shrubby tree that grows all around the eastern United States. And so all I had to do was look up. These are all pawpaw. If you see one, you're going to see a ton, and that's because their roots are all interconnected. There's a network of roots, and they're basically clones of each other. So if you find one in September when they're fruiting, you may have a lot of fruit that you may be able to harvest. It's delicious edible fruit, the largest native edible fruit in the United States, and it's absolutely delicious, especially if you really like mangoes or bananas, because I think it kind of tastes like a little bit of both. Has this like custardy kind of texture. Really, really delicious fruit. So here are the flowers again, and good luck in September. Hoping you can find some ripe pawpaw. They don't last long when ripe. They'll start to ferment pretty quick. So if you find ripe fruit in September, go ahead and harvest it and either eat it right away or freeze it. Right here we actually have a bee pollinating some of the flowers. So I'm going to show you real quick through the phone, and then I'm going to take a video with my camera. Well, that does it for this installation of virtual programming with the roving naturalist here at Bull Run Regional Park. Thanks for joining me on the Bluebell Trail. And if you like what you saw, please feel free to share and check out some of our other videos on the Nova Parks YouTube channel. Take care, everybody. Stay safe.